And here's just a quick walk around showing the damage to the truck. Hey, welcome back to the channel. I am really glad you're here, but today I'm really glad that I'm here. And I'm glad that Anne's here, and I'm glad that Hachi, the dog, is here as well. Yesterday we were driving to a garden center, and as we were waiting to turn left in the garden center, we were hit from behind at a really high rate of speed. The Silverado took it well, it did its job, and I want to show you some of the damage that happened. But I also want to tell you a few things about why I think we're able to stand here today. And there's one tip that I think is really important, and I think that made really all the difference. So let me go around and show you the damage on the truck, talk about the accident, and then tell you about some of those tips or items that I think really possibly saved our lives. The impact that we experienced was straight from behind. You can see that the bumper is still attached. I actually thought the bumper was gone, but it just folded under, and you can see my tow hitch there is also pointed straight down. I think the fact that the impact was straight was one factor that really helped us out. I think that if the other driver had hit the corner of the truck, it could have spun us around, or if we had started to make our approach into that left turn, it could have spun us around as well and maybe turned us over, but instead it hit us straight from behind and it just sent us forward. When it did that, as soon as the impact happened, the cab started to fill with smoke. I went to hit the brakes, there were no brakes whatsoever, so I drifted forward about 150 feet, and then I used the parking brake, the emergency brake, to stop. I didn't know what the smoke was. It was not an electrical smell, it wasn't a gasoline smell. What I believe it was the brake lines ruptured and sprayed brake fluid all over the exhaust system. So there was no fire. I don't know how flammable brake fluid is, but thank goodness nothing ignited. But it was pretty scary because we didn't know why this smoke was filling up so quickly. Also, the seat belts really held us in place, and Anne started to panic a little bit because she couldn't get her seatbelt off, but I was able to push the button and release it. And we jumped out of the truck. I grabbed Hachi and we went into the yard that was next to us to make sure that the truck was safe. You might assume with an impact like that airbags would have gone off, but actually no airbags were deployed, and I guess that's because we were hit from behind. Certainly if we were hit from the front, you have airbags in the steering wheel and over on that side, and I think there might even be some in the columns here as well. But no airbags went off in this collision, but that's okay. So my first thought was the smoke was coming from an airbag somewhere, which wasn't the case. Here's some security camera footage that the garden center shared with me, and you can see at the top left of the screen how upon impact the back of our truck went up in the air. So again, it was a pretty high rate of speed and quite an impact, and we really didn't know what happened for the first few seconds. As fate would have it, the very next vehicle was a sheriff's officer who was driving home from work that night. So by the time we came to a stop, she was already running up to our vehicle telling us that 911 was called, and she asked us if we needed anything. She asked what happened, and she was just amazing. And then we came to rest in front of a house, and then the family came out, and they were so gracious. They brought us some folding chairs so we could sit down, brought us some bottles of water. They brought some treats for the dog, and were just so kind. And definitely want to thank you, Nicole, Gary, and Frankie, if you're watching. Your kindness was not lost on us, and we just can't thank you enough. You can see here how the truck just folded up in the back, and I think that's another reason that we kind of made out okay with this crash, is because modern vehicles are designed with these what are called crumple zones, and they're designed to absorb that impact. Not to mention the vehicle that the other driver was driving also has those crumple zones, and you can see in this picture where the front end of that vehicle was just smashed. So that absorbed the impact for them, it absorbed the impact for us, and again, I think that really helped out quite a bit. In addition to that amazing sheriff's officer, I just can't thank her enough. The New Jersey State Police are the most professional group of people you could ask for. There were 2 or 3 officers on the scene. They were walking back and forth. They were asking the right number of questions. They were checking with the other driver. They did a sobriety test for the other driver, and just really crossed all their T's and dotted all their I's, as they say. But super, super professional, and kind and very accommodating. So thank you to the New Jersey State Police, as well as that sheriff's officer. I don't know who she was with, but what county she was with, but just incredibly well-trained personnel. Here on the passenger side, you can see where the frame is crumpled and cracked there. And the rear end actually twisted down. The drive shaft is now pointed down, and look at this leaf spring. They're supposed to be straight, and on both sides they're bent around like that. And here again on both sides you can see where the bed got pushed up into the back of the cab, and this gap here where the back door is just completely crushed together. The doors still do work, which is interesting. We were able to get out easy enough, but that really damaged the cab all the way up as well. The front of the truck seems fine, but I don't know why, but after the impact, when we had finally come to a stop, there was brake fluid leaking out of this side. So whatever happened, however it ruptured those brake lines, it actually blew out maybe one of the flexible lines, but something all the way up in the front here blew out brake lines, and it was dripping brake fluid. The fuel tank is right here in front of the left rear wheel, and I'm again really thankful that nothing ruptured there and ignited. But they design these vehicles now where they've got the fuel tanks in a safe area. Not to say that that couldn't happen, but you know, some of the older vehicles, the tank was in the back, and that would have certainly been a disaster, especially if it was a 1973 Ford Pinto. Another thing that I think made a difference for us are these headrests. You know, they're not just there so you can roll your seat back and take a nap. They're there to protect your neck in the event of a rear collision, which is exactly what we experienced. When we got hit from behind, my head was thrown back against this headrest. And, you know, older vehicles didn't have these. You know, I had a pickup truck in the 80s, had no headrest. The windshield, or the rear window, was right behind me, and there was no protection whatsoever. So again, these modern vehicles are designed to protect the passengers, and I think they do a pretty darn good job. So the quote-unquote modern safety features that we have in vehicles today really do their job, and we're really lucky that they're designed that way. We don't really have any control over that in an accident, but the one thing that we do have control over, I think also made a big difference. And this is something I remembered from driver's ed 40 years ago. It really stuck with me, and I think about it probably every time I'm driving in this situation. I shared it with my kids when I taught them how to drive, and hopefully they remembered it as well. But I think this is an important tip for experienced and new drivers alike. And that is, when you are in traffic and you're stopped or stopping and planning to make a left-hand turn, keep your wheels facing forward. Don't turn your wheel left until you begin to move forward and make that turn. Keep your wheels straight. The reason for that is because if you get hit from behind, that car behind you could push you into oncoming traffic if your wheel is turned. By keeping your wheel straight, they hit you from the back and you just continue forward in your line or lane of traffic. And that's exactly what happened with us. We got hit from behind and I was projected straight forward for 150 feet. But had I turned that wheel to the left and was sitting there waiting to turn to the left, he could have knocked me into oncoming traffic. So again, anytime I'm driving, and I don't know why that was drilled into me, but when I stop, I tell myself, don't turn your wheel to the left until you're ready to start moving. I mean, I don't physically tell myself that, but it's in my head. So that to me is something that we have control over and can make a really big difference. So that's my tip that I hope you'll remember and share with, again, new drivers and experienced drivers alike. Hey, I also just want to say, first of all, the other driver also appeared to be okay with no physical abrasions or broken bones. And again, they had safety features in their vehicle as well, which was airbags and crumple zones and all that as well. So it appears that we all walked away relatively unhurt from this pretty serious accident. So just want to say that the other drivers seem to be okay as well. I also want to thank you for those of you who reached out to me I shared some pictures on social media last night on our page, so a lot of you reached out, and I really do appreciate your concern and your heartfelt wishes for me, for Ann, and for Hachi. So thanks for watching, and I hope that you found this tip helpful, and I hope you stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you next time.